We'll start at the beginning with the First Amendment. We will not go through every single amendment, just those that talk about protecting people's rights. For each one, I'm going to read the actual text that's written into the amendment itself, and then I'm going to do my best to explain it in regular, everyday language. So, here we go. First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This is usually split into three groups. First, freedom of expression. This includes freedom of speech, the right to voice opinions, and freedom of the press, the right of things like newspapers, TV shows, and internet news sites to report the news truthfully. Freedom of religion says the government can't have an official religion that it wants everybody to be a part of. Neither can it say, yeah, that religion's bad. Don't be a part of it. Basically, the government is supposed to keep its hands completely off your own religious business, whether you want to be in one or not. And finally, freedom of assembly, that the people have the right to come together and peacefully protest if there's something going on that they feel the government needs to address. Uh, let's see. The Second Amendment. A well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This one is usually simplified down to the right to bear arms. This one is one of the more unique ones. This one is less common in other countries similar to the United States around the world, but in the United States, people have a very strong right to keep and own firearms within certain limits, as it says, a well regulated militia. The Third Amendment. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. In other words, the government can't just put its soldiers into your house and tell you, yeah, you have to let them sleep there. This is one that basically never comes up today because the United States government basically almost never tries to do that, but it was a big deal to the founding fathers. The British government had tried to put soldiers in regular people's houses, so they wanted this right written right into the Constitution that the government absolutely couldn't do that. The Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Okay, this is broken down into no unreasonable searches and seizures. The police can't just pass you on the street and decide they are going to search through all your stuff. They have to have a reasonable, they have to have a reason for wanting and needing to do that. And a warrant is required. If the police want to search your house, generally speaking, they need a warrant to do it. In order to get a warrant, they have to go to a judge. They have to say, okay, here is why I want to search this house. Here is the evidence I have leading me to think I might find something in this house. And, here's what I'm looking for. And the judge will very carefully look. And if the police do not meet a certain standard, if they don't have a reasonable suspicion to think that they would find something in your house, the judge will turn them down and the police are not allowed to go through your stuff. The Fifth Amendment. Ooh, it's a big one. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So that's a lot of stuff. In no particular order. First up, no double jeopardy. That means if you are accused of a crime and you go to trial and you are found innocent, they can never again accuse you and put you on trial for that specific crime. So, like, if they think you robbed a bank and you go to trial and you prove you didn't do that, even if they find more evidence later, you don't ever have to worry about going back to trial for that specific crime. Now, if you were to then rob another bank, that is a whole separate criminal transaction, and they can and will go after you for that. But they only get one bite at the apple. You can only be tried one time once you're found innocent. Next, you have the right to not testify against yourself. In other words, if you are put on trial, they cannot make you take the stand and testify against yourself. You can always say, no, I don't want to testify. You'll sometimes hear people say, I plead the fifth, meaning the Fifth Amendment, because Americans have an absolute right not to testify against themselves. You can keep private property as unless the government has gone through due process. So let's say you have a whole bunch of land and the government wants to build a road through that land. They can't just take it and say, well, we need to build a road. We're the government. It's our land now. They have to fairly pay you for it. This happened with my grandparents. They had a really big yard, and the road in front of their house needed to be widened. So the government came in and told them, hey, we need part of your front yard to do this. But they had to pay a reasonable price to my grandparents in order to be able to take that. This is always true. Like, you can't be sent to prison without due process of law. You can't have anything legally taken away from you without due process of law. The Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. There's a bunch in there, so let me hit 4 high points. First, you have the right to an impartial jury. If you are arrested, then you have the right to have a trial where you will be judged by a group of people who don't know you and have nothing to gain or lose. People who are impartial, who just don't care. Next, you have the right to representation. This basically means you have the right to a lawyer, either if the police are questioning you or if you are being put on trial. You get to have a lawyer there who knows the law and can help defend you. If you can't afford a lawyer, then you are allowed to get a lawyer for free that the government pays for. You are, of course, also allowed to hire a lawyer of your choice. You have the right to a speedy and public trial. If you are arrested, this means you are entitled to have a trial happen relatively soon. The government can't just arrest you and be like, yeah, we'll put you on trial when we get around to it. No, they have to bring you to trial relatively quickly or let you go. They also have to make the trial public. They can't arrest you and then go tell your family, oh, yeah, we had a trial. It was fair. They were guilty. No, your trial has to be open to the public so that everybody could see the justice process at work. Finally, it's here it says witnesses must testify. If there is a witness who you want to speak in your defense, you have the right to make them come to the trial and to have them be required to testify. Like if somebody who really hates you saw you somewhere else at the time you were accused of committing a crime, you have the right to say, hey, this person can say I wasn't there, and they can be forced to go to court and they can be forced to then testify, yeah, they didn't do the crime. I saw them somewhere else at the time. All right, moving on. The Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. So, first up, no cruel and unusual punishment. When judges decide what sentences to hand down, they have to do so within normally accepted guidelines. They can't make up super weird, super harsh things for small crimes. In the picture here, they can't be like, oh, you littered, well, you go to jail forever. Nor can they be, well, you littered. In that case, all of the city's trash will be dumped in your room. No, they have to work within an accepted system of punishments that should be fair, which ties into the next one. Bails and fines must be reasonable. Basically, the punishment needs to fit the crime. For a very serious crime, a large amount of bail or a large fine might be required, whereas for a smaller crime, the amounts you have to pay should be much less. Again, you can basically sum this up really simply by saying the punishment must fit the crime.